Now we're moving on to something a little bit different. So I have not watched award shows in a long time. When I was growing up, I was really into like the MTV movie awards and music awards and the Grammys. Like I loved watching all that stuff. And as I got older, I started to realize that it was the same people performing every year. It was the same people winning awards. So I actually did not watch the Grammys. Surprise, surprise. But I did hear about it. And there's some news we have to discuss. It appears that rapper Killer Mike actually won 3 Grammys at the recent Grammy Awards. That's a big deal. I consider Killer Mike to be a great rapper. I also feel like he's been heavily underrated as a rapper, to be honest with you. But he's also an organizer within the community. He's very vocal. He supported Bernie Sanders. He was the one that made the t-shirts that said Black Guys for Bernie when Bernie was running and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of positives about Killer Mike. So you're probably wondering what happened. Well, apparently, after Killer Mike won those 3 Grammys, apparently Killer Mike was arrested at the Grammys. Let's go ahead and get into this story. It is something else, ladies and gentlemen.
So we do not usually cover showbiz on this program, unless, of course, somebody gets arrested. And wouldn't you know it, somebody did last night at the Grammys. I don't know if you were watching, but when I heard that rap legend Killer Mike was hauled off to the station in cuffs, I had all these visions of like Will Smith, right? A moment like, where instead the cops actually did something about it for a change. Let me break down the stuff that's going on right now on your screen. Killer Mike's real name is Michael Render, and he was spotted right there being escorted out of last night's Grammys in handcuffs.
Again, this was right after he won the 3 awards. So it was kind of like, congratulations. Now we're taking you to jail.
And while the details of what actually happened are still a little sketchy, there are a couple things we do know. LAPD says that Mike was booked for a, quote, misdemeanor battery after a, quote, physical altercation at the actual venue. So there's one report that says a security guard may have been the other party involved. And in a text, Killer Mike reportedly blamed, quote, overzealous security. He was released a couple of hours later. All of this happening on the night that he had just won 3 Grammys, basically sweeping the rap category. So it was like a really good night till it wasn't a really good night. And of course, we flashed back to the Oscars in 2022 when Will Smith did that, hauled off and slapped Chris Rock live on the stage in front of millions of people. But Will Smith was not cuffed. He was not arrested. He wasn't charged.
Let me chime in here for a second, because this is an example I think that is a good example to compare it to, right? Will Smith actually walked up onto the stage and smacked the crap out of Chris Rock. Just a kapow, you know? Wasn't arrested. I don't even remember them asking him to leave the venue. But with Killer Mike, and you'll hear more about this altercation in just a second, with Killer Mike, he was arrested and taken to jail. Now, there's a couple of differences. The accusations in reference to Killer Mike, you know, she said that it was security. Apparently, it was a female security guard. There's that. We'll get into what actually happened. And but the other thing is that what is the difference between the two? What's the difference between Killer Mike and Will Smith? You see, Will Smith, he fits into this category of he's accepted by a lot of people, right? So let's just keep it real. There is a difference between the two. Will Smith was also a rapper. People are saying it's a rapper versus not a rapper thing. Will Smith was a rapper. In fact, the first rap Grammy was awarded to DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Will Smith, that was the very first one. Very first one. The Grammys didn't even acknowledge rap as a category until 1989. Will is accepted by white America. He's accepted more so by the establishment. Could you imagine them actually putting handcuffs on Will Smith and taking him away? Oh, people would lose their minds. But with someone like Killer Mike, they feel they don't have to worry about that because he's not as accepted. Killer Mike is also an activist. He speaks out a lot. There are some times I wish he would have spoke out more, like in reference to Cop City. I wish he would have been vocal earlier on. But he's known for speaking out against things. Let's continue. These are just some of the things to think about.
Instead, Will Smith got to go back to his seat and then stay there until called up to the stage to pick up his Best Actor statue. So did the LA police, or maybe the awards producers, did they learn from their mistakes? Or are the officers just more inclined to arrest somebody who has killer in their name? I don't know the answer, but I will say this. It is a good thing that Killer Mike was released today because he needed to be out for his son's much needed operation. Sources say that Killer Mike's 21-year-old son received a kidney transplant today after waiting on a list for 3 years. So it goes without saying that we really do hope everything goes well for Killer Mike's son and for the family as they go through this really difficult time. And I'm really curious about the details of whatever it was went on backstage. And I'm really curious if this is now a new trend. Don't go hitting people at an award show because something's going to happen. Thank you.
Okay. Now, let's get into a little bit more detail because there's something else that happened too. And I'm going to point to this as I wonder if this is one of the reasons why they're coming after Killer Mike. So here are more details about what happened that night. Killer Mike's Grammy arrest, rapper cites confusion as new details emerge. So let's get into this. The reason Killer Mike was taken away in handcuffs after winning 3 Grammy Awards Sunday is coming into focus. A senior law enforcement source says a female security guard working the star-studded event claims she was injured by the rapper during a confrontation inside the Crypto.com arena in LA. Killer Mike denies the allegation in a new statement to Rolling Stone. According to the source, it was shortly after the Atlanta musician, whose real name is Michael Render, swept the rap category with trophies for Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song, and Best Rap Performance that he allegedly encountered the guard near her assigned entrance. The guard told police she asked for Render's tickets and directed him to a security checkpoint. At this point, she claims Render tried to make his way around her, and when she ran around and got in front of him again, he allegedly pushed her to the ground. This piece here. The female guard allegedly suffered an injury to her hand and her fingers. The well-placed LAPD source said the woman called for help and her fellow security officers surrendered Render outside the arena and called the police. The guard received medical treatment, signed a citizen's arrest for misdemeanor battery, and had photos taken of her alleged injuries. Render was then arrested and transported for booking, processing, and released on his own recognizance. Now, I guess what I want to ask is, do you guys really think, or could you imagine Killer Mike actually pushing a female security guard to the ground? Or could it have been that he was trying to scoot past her and she fell? I'm just trying to envision him walking up to a security guard, a female security guard, and pushing her to the ground like that, and then just walking away. So that's her version of the events. Now let's continue on. In his statement to Rolling Stone, Render denies the allegation. As you can imagine, there was a lot going on Oh, there was a lot of going. Sorry. There was a lot of going, and there was some confusion around which door my team and I should enter. We experienced an overzealous security guard, but my team and I have the utmost confidence that I will ultimately be cleared of all wrongdoing. It goes on to say here, the situation has been overblown, but we are confident that the facts of the case, when laid bare, will show that Mike did not commit the alleged offense and he will be exonerated. Now, that's a source from the artist's camp. So it goes on to say the law enforcement source who spoke to Rolling Stone was aware of critics who have questioned why Render was arrested while Will Smith was allowed to remain at the 2022 Oscars after he struck Chris Rock in the face. Let me highlight this part here. There's a big difference. Chris Rock did not want to make a report, didn't want to make an arrest. It was a fellow artist, and I guess they sorted it out themselves. Had Chris Rock said, I want to make a citizen's arrest, it would have been honored. The source said in this case, it was a private citizen and she had everything she needed to exercise her rights to make a citizen's arrest. And we are bound by law to make that arrest. So it appears that the female security guard actually did ask to arrest him. So this is important. Before issuing his statement, Render appeared on an Atlanta radio show Monday morning, and Jovalee deflected questions about the incident, describing his arrest as a minor detour on an otherwise celebratory night. We hit a speed bump, and then we head back to the party. He told the Bigger Tigger morning show. He said he was only then leaving his final party after he won Best Rap Album for Michael and Best Rap Song and Best Rap Performance for Scientists and Engineers. I want to thank everyone who dares to believe that art can change the world. It is our responsibility to keep using our imagination to shape and form the world. In his written remarks to Rolling Stone, Render says he and his team worked hard for the recognition. We are incredibly proud and basking in this moment. He added that more good news arrived Monday. I'm also grateful that one of my prayers has been answered. The day after my Grammy win, I learned that my son, who has been on the list for a kidney for years, finally has a match. Obviously, we are elated. So as you can tell there, different version of what happened that night, different version of events between the security officer and Killer Mike. Now, I'm imagining there probably were witnesses at some point if you're entering and they're asking for a ticket. So shouldn't there have been a witness here or there to at least collaborate at least one of their stories? I'm pretty sure there are security cameras in this venue as well, right? Couldn't they have just gone back to the security footage to see what really happened? That probably will happen at some point. And then some are starting to wonder this. There was an interview recently that Killer Mike had with Bill Maher, where Bill Maher refused to endorse Joe Biden. And this is another thing that some people are pointing to. Is this why they're coming after Killer Mike? Listen to this.
What are your feelings on the election coming up? I mean, Biden and Trump. Are you as depressed about that as most people as a choice?
My feeling is pick your policy, not your person. Find out. This is.
I love this FM. FM said it was the Dems. That's what some people are wondering. Let me continue, sir.
It's not the Dallas Cowboys versus your favorite team. This is the policies that will affect our generations for the next 20, 30, 40 years to come. So close your eyes, listen to the policies that are being pushed, and pay attention even to the people who don't have a chance of winning, because they're going to say policies you may want to push. And I would say do that, but make it policy based.
So that part right there is not what they would want to hear. It's definitely not what Bill Maher would want to hear. He's an ass anyway, but that's definitely not what Bill Maher would want to hear. That's not what the DNC would want to hear. Obviously, they would want you to say, and a lot of the celebrities do. There's a lot of liberals, like in Hollywood, they would just come on there and they would say, oh, of course, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump, right? But remember, And I don't know if Bill Maher remembers, but remember, Killer Mike actually supported Bernie Sanders. So just keep that in mind. So I think that's important what he said, like focus on the policies and not the person. I think that's important. I wish more people did that and they didn't actually fall in love with a politician, which I think some people do, and they're not paying attention to the policies. That was not the answer that Bill wanted to hear.
You're for.
That means I'm for black people and happy Black History Month.
But you're not saying one candidate over the other?
Hey man, my nigga, you ain't gonna get me in no trouble tonight. Hey,
So you see, he said he was not saying one candidate over the other.
No, that's your job with me to get me in trouble.
My grandfather gave me some stellar advice sometimes. He said, son, sometimes you just got to know to stay out of white folks' business. And this time, I'm going to keep my mouth closed. I still like the policy that the old man had that I was supporting. I would encourage people to find who's supporting that policy and see what happens.
But you can't get yourself to say vote for Biden over Trump?
You see how Bill Maher is pushing this here? He's trying to push him into having to choose one or the other. You know, not everything is black and white. And some people like to think outside the box. Bill does not. Bill does not. Okay. So he's trying to push him.
You want me to list it now? So now
I'm just saying that.
Can he get himself to apologize for the crime bill? Can he get himself to get his head out of his ass and say, black people, you are black regardless. I need you to tell me what I need to do. Can he pick a coalition of former people who are affected by drug laws, street gangs, recidivism and crime and say, I need you as a board to advise me how to fix federal prisons? If he can do that, absolutely I can. So my challenge is out there.
All right.
This is what happens when you push people. He's telling them all the things that Joe Biden needs to do. And obviously we know Joe Biden is not going to do those things. Let's just be clear. But let's think about something, folks. There's something I actually just thought about. You know, there have been a number of clips of Bill Maher. He's also a Zionist, being very critical against the people that are pro-Palestine. Made jokes about the genocide happening in Gaza and in a disgusting way. Right? If I was Killer Mike, I wouldn't have even gone on to Bill Maher's show. I definitely wouldn't have smiled at Bill Maher. Right? So we have Bill Maher out there calling people anti-Semitic because they support the Palestinian fight. But I just want to remind everybody, where was that same push against Bill Maher when he was using the N-word on his show? You see all the people like Bill Maher and Bill Ackman and all the Zionists that are calling for the cancellation of all of the protesters and people who are supporting the Palestinians' right to self-determination. All those people were quiet when Bill Maher was using the N-word on his show. Always remember that. So I guess we'll find out more in reference to the arrest with Killer Mike. It is kind of a bummer, though, like to win 3 Grammys. It's probably the biggest night of your musical career, not to mention what I've seen over the years in reference to, you know, a lot of these awards. I told you this is why I stopped watching them. It's the same people. Like I already know Taylor Swift going to be up there. Beyonce going to be there somewhere. A couple years ago, Katy Perry will make an appearance. It was always the same people. But when you see someone like Killer Mike walk up on that stage and win 3 Grammys, that lets you know that it's number one, it's never too late, because Killer Mike isn't like in his 20s or 30s. He's an older guy, right? And the rap game tends to be a little bit more favorable towards the younger cats. But that goes to show you that regardless, you can still make these things happen. And then it was kind of like, to have the arrest happen after that, it was kind of like a crushing blow. It's like, damn. You know, it's like you just won the lottery, but then now you're going to jail. You know, I don't know, just something like that. So we'll have to hear more information about how this unfolds. But I have a feeling, I don't know, I have a feeling that this is going to work out in Killer Mike's favor. I really just don't. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that venue has security cameras, so they can always just go back to the video footage to see what actually happened between him and the female security officer. But other than that, we'll just have to wait and see. Very interesting. And there are some areas where I feel like Killer Mike could have been stronger. In reference to Cop City, I felt like he was very quiet until he was pushed, right? Whereas a voice like his actually could have made the Stop Cop City movement even more powerful. Just if Killer Mike would have gotten up there, right? You have someone and it's not just him, the Tyler Perrys, all these people that live in Atlanta that are celebrities that were quiet about this issue. I felt like that would have made the movement even bigger, in my opinion. So it is what it is. Congratulations, Killer Mike. Hopefully you figure this out.